Welcome to part 2 of the IBM Rational CLM reporting tutorial series. This is an introduction to the Cognos Query Studio user interface for RRDI users. In this part, I'll launch Query Studio, I'll explain the areas of the interface, and I'll explain the structure of the data package that you'll usually use to create reports, called Reporting Data Model DW. The first thing that you do in Query Studio is to decide which package to open. As a side note, remember that the metadata model provides an integrated business view of diverse data sources. The data sources appear in the report authoring tools as packages. To select a package, you go to the list of Cognos public folders and select the Reporting Data Models folder. This is where you'll find the Reporting Data Model DW package. The Reporting Data Model DW package contains the data warehouse data. The other packages you see here contain live operational data from the source applications. You only use one data package when you create a report. In general, you will use data from the data warehouse package in your reports. Once the package is loaded, you can see the title Query Studio at the top left, and you can see who you're logged in as over on the top right. You'll also see a home icon that takes you back to Cognos Connection and some buttons that you can use to access help material. Let's look at the areas of the interface. You'll see the toolbar at the top labeled number 1. Under that, the query layout space labeled number 2. This is where you'll drag items into the report. This is your workspace. The space labeled number 3 has some menu options. You use these menu options to insert data, edit data, change layout, run report, and manage file. Under that, in the lower left pane labeled number 4, is the data model that contains the query items. You can click and drag these to the query layout space. They'll run immediately and show you your report results. Let's look at the toolbar. Some buttons will be very familiar. These are buttons like New, Open, Save, Save As, Cut, Paste, and so on. Notice the Run button. A Query Studio report retrieves data as soon as you open or modify it, but you can run a report to see any recently updated data. Running could take some time depending on the amount of data. The toolbar includes the same capabilities as most text editors, including font, size, font color, bold, etc. Now we'll look at the tree hierarchy in Query Studio. A new report has no data. It's a blank workspace. You choose the report items that you want to include in the report from the data package. The data package you'll usually use is called Reporting Data Model DW. It's organized into certain groups of common work, like project management and quality management, to make it easier for you to find the data you need. Each grouped area has a set of metrics tables containing metrics related to that area of work. For example, quality management has different sets of test execution results metrics. Let's look at the execution results metrics with iteration. You navigate to the folder where the data is located, expand the tree hierarchy, and select the data that you want to view. In the example, I'm selecting Quality Management, Execution Result Metrics with Iteration, Current Snapshot. You can use Shift to select multiple concurrent items or Control to select multiple separate items. Then you drag and drop the items into the query layout space. Alternatively, you can right-click and select Insert to insert your selected items into the report. The data will be calculated and generated immediately. Items added from the data package to your report are called report items. Report items appear as columns. You can change your columns to appear as rows and columns by using the Cross-Tab button on the toolbar. The data that I added to the report was the count or measure of total execution results, which was 108. I'm now adding dimensions to that measure, which will break the data down and give additional insight into that measure. I'm adding year, week, and project. A couple of things to notice are that measures give you a numeric value or a count of something. You typically query a measure by one or more dimensions. In this example, I queried total execution results by year, week, and project. All of the metrics table's data is comprised of measures that are surrounded by dimensions. Dimensions could be classification, date, priority, severity, state, project, and so on. You use metrics tables data in reports that aggregate data or that pull in data from a number of different sources. Metrics tables data can also provide historical data, so it can be valuable for trending reports. You'll note that there are two sets of metrics. There's one for trending and one for current snapshot data. In this example, execution result metrics with iteration has the execution result metrics with iteration table and the execution result metrics with iteration current snapshot table. This is because for many metrics there are two tables in the data warehouse. When the ETL process runs, both tables are populated. The execution result metrics with iteration table has historical trending data, which means that every ETL run adds data to the table so that it contains a complete history of the data. But execution result metrics with iteration current snapshot only contains the latest data. When the ETL process runs, it delivers the latest data, but it removes the old data from the table. If you want your report to show historical trends, use the first table that does not say snapshot. If you're only interested in the latest status, use the current snapshot table. Notice that the execution result metrics with iteration trending table does contain the latest snapshot data, but if you only want to see the latest snapshot, you can save on performance by using the current snapshot table instead of having to filter the historical trending data just to see the latest results. As you can see, when I query the total execution results historical trending table, I get a count of more than 2,000. When I use the dimensions of year and week, you can see that there's data for different dates. Instead of just one date, which was the case with the current snapshot measure that we looked at before that had a count of 108. Notice that for the trending data, you're looking at a number of data points that depend on a dimension. So the measure that you drag in is not really a count yet until you add a dimension to it. The main dimension is date for a trend. So after you add the date, then you're looking at actual counts broken out by date. The total is just the sum of all the counts for the different dates. It's also important to understand the data model to know if you are looking at a correct count. For example, a test case can be in multiple test plans. So only after you add the test plan dimension to the report, then you will see the actual count for the test case per plan. Before that, test cases could have been double counted. For execution results, there is no double counting since one result belongs to one execution record, which belongs to one iteration and to one plan. I'm now going to collapse some of the sections so you can take a look at the detail level data. The reporting data model package also includes operational or detail level data. This is historical lookup data that captures data for the entire trend. So for example, if on March 1st you had 10 execution results in the trend, then you can use this to see which 10 execution results they were. If on the next day, on March 2nd, you had 14 execution results, then you can see exactly which 14 they were. However, the historical lookup data only captures the ID of the result and not the entire state. So if on March 1st, the result's name was A, and then on March 2nd, it was renamed B, then the report would still show B as the name when you filter on March 1st because the system doesn't remember the history of the names, but it remembers that this result existed on that date.